Today, I would like us to consider Sarah, the wife of Abraham, and see what we can learn from her life. And the first lesson we learn from the life of Sarah is that nothing is impossible with God. Abraham and Sarah were way advanced in years, and yet they did not have any child. And even in their old age, God promised that they would have a son. In Genesis chapter 18 and verse 10, the Lord spoke to Abraham and said, I will surely return to you about this time next year, and Sarah, your wife, will have a son. Now Sarah was listening at the entrance to the tent, which was behind him. Abraham and Sarah were already old and well advanced in years, and Sarah was past the age of childbearing. So Sarah laughed to herself as she thought, after I am worn out and my master is old, will I now have this pleasure? Then the Lord said to Abraham, verse 13, why did Sarah laugh and say, will I really have a child now that I'm old? And in comes verse 14. Is anything too hard for the Lord? I will return to you at the appointed time next year, and Sarah will have a son. Look again at the profound statement that God makes in verse 14. Is anything too hard for the Lord? Dear ones, our God is not limited by anything. He can certainly do absolutely anything He chooses to do for His people. Nothing, absolutely nothing is too difficult for Him. And I just wonder, what is this that you feel is hard, difficult, and impossible? I put it to you that with our God, nothing is too difficult. Friends, even in our moments of fear and doubt, even in our moments of uncertainties, let us never forget that nothing is impossible with God. Well, the second lesson we learn from Sarah is that God always keeps His promises. Look at Genesis 21 and verse 1. Now the Lord was gracious to Sarah as He had said, and the Lord did for Sarah what He had promised. Friends, our God is faithful and always keeps His promises. Yes, after many years of waiting, God did not disappoint Abraham and Sarah. Isaac finally arrived. You know what? Like Abraham and Sarah, we too must take God at His word, knowing that He always keeps His promises. Another lesson we learn from Sarah is that God's timing is always the best. Although God promised to bless Abraham and Sarah with a son, He did not specify when. And, they waited and waited. And after waiting, waited. And after waiting, waited some more. And eventually the son of the promise, Isaac, arrived. You know, we often pray for something, and if God doesn't seem to answer in what we consider a reasonable, appropriate time, you know, we start wondering whether the answer will ever come. That's just human. God is, however, God. And you know what? Because He is God, He knows what time is best to give you the answer to your prayer. Sarah's life teaches us that nothing is impossible with God. God always keeps His promises. God's timing is always perfect. It's always the best. And lastly, Sarah's life teaches us that God can use us despite our weaknesses. Sarah, of course, was very beautiful. She was a very beautiful woman with so many strengths. She was, however, a human being just like us, and also had weaknesses just as we do. At some point, you know, she seemed to waver, you know, regarding God's promise. And she tries to get a child through Hagar. You know, her imperfection is much evident later, you know, as she ill-treats Hagar and even later sends Hagar away, you know, with her son Ishmael. Later, you know, when God makes a promise in chapter 18, she laughs about it. When she's asked, why did you laugh? She said, I didn't laugh. She even lies about the fact that she did laugh. Please kindly note that despite Sarah's imperfections, God honored her. Listen to what Genesis chapter 17 and verse 15 and 16 says. God also said to Abraham, as for Sarai, your wife, you are no longer to call her Sarai. Her name will be Sarah. I will bless her, and I will surely give you a son by her. I will bless her so that she will be the mother of nations. Kings of people will come from her. Despite her imperfections, Sarah's faith grew and she became a great woman of faith that God used to fulfill His purposes. It's no wonder her name appears among the heroes and heroines of faith in Hebrews chapter 11. Yes, friends, God can use us regardless of our imperfections. God can use us despite our weaknesses.